is Donna Zalter, Compass Agent in South Florida, serving the Tri-County area, Dade, Palm Beach, and Broward County. So I'm here today to talk to you about the market we're coming out of and the market that we're in. I don't have my specific stats today. I'll do that another day. But I just want to tell you that we are now in a market that is super weird. Our inventory is growing. It's not growing exponentially. It's certainly not growing fast. We still have a dearth, a lack of good inventory to sell. The key to selling in today's market, where we're not seeing any buyers enter the market, is to pricing your property completely correctly. But that's hard to determine as well, because what is the correct pricing when you just come out of a market that was so frenzied and there were so many over asking offers? What do we do? So I do have a business coach, and speaking to him about the subject, we talked about the fact that now correct pricing is paramount. But what is correct pricing? Correct pricing in today's market is pricing it at what the listings actually were listed at before the frenzy. So if a home was listed for $500,000 but sold for $550,000, that means pricing the home at the $500,000. So we're not getting a bonus, so to speak, or homeowners aren't getting a bonus for their pricing, but they're getting actually what the market has dictated kind of all along, except for this little peak in the market that we saw like in the latter part of COVID. What does that mean for South Florida? I'm not exactly sure where we're going to end up this fall. I've counseled all my clients, both sellers and buyers, to have patience. Let's talk about my sellers first. I am still pricing their properties on the high side, but counseling them that we're going to work on price reductions because I don't know where we're going to land. We still are lacking inventory. So that's usually what drives demand. However, people are a little more gun shy, so they may not want to even dip their toe into this market if they don't have to. So we're pricing high, counseling them. If we don't get any showings, then we do a 5% decrease in weeks 1 or 2, depending on, our conversations with our sellers. And we go from there until we catch the buyer. So that's the reverse in thinking, like, let's price it really competitively and get multi-bids, because I don't think we're in a multi-bid situation right now. The market's kind of in the doldrums right now, where before, when kids go back to school, I think the entire world was in Europe this year. I don't know. Every time you looked on Facebook, someone was posting from Venice. And I think people had their minds elsewhere, and they were so tired and burnt out from the real estate market, especially if they had been buyers trying to buy a property, that they just needed a break and a refresh. And I told my buyers, so now I'm switching over to my buyers, to really take a break and look at the market again in August, September. And I'm pushing more towards September because I don't see any movement happening, either buyer or seller, because of the back to school factor, because it's been a really hot summer for most people, and to think about more heat, I think, is not even on their brain at all. And so we'll go from there. So today's article that I'm going to share with you is called 5 Tips to Help Home Buyers Win. And this is predicated on the fact that we're in this kind of weird market that we actually could go back to bidding wars come September, October in South Florida. And again, we're different than all other markets. We're still seeing a tremendous increase in demand from out-of-state buyers and actually Canadians too, even though the interest rate's kind of sucky right now. So our first step in buying a home in a super competitive market, in which I still maintain we're in, for good houses, for good property, we're still super competitive. You have to make sure your finances are in order first. before you talk to an agent, before you go looking, please make sure that you're able to actually make an offer, because otherwise you will be wasting your time. Many people, many home sellers are still asking to waive the financing contingency. So that means that if it doesn't happen through a financing, if your financing falls short, you have to be able to make up the shortfall. And so your finances have to be in order. You also have to have your finances in order to get a good mortgage. So I have wonderful mortgage brokers that I would recommend to you. I don't actually sit there with you to go through your finances. That's not my dharma, for sure not. Anyone who knows me well knows I don't like the number part of the tedium of getting finances together and all that. But I do have a support staff and a whole realm of professionals that help me. Okay, so step 2 is hire the right agent. Listen, I want to sell my services. Hire the right agent. But if you're not going to hire me, please don't hire your friend or a relative who just got their license in order to do them a favor. We're in a very, very, very complicated market right now, and you have to have the skills to be able to negotiate it and to work around it. There takes tenacity on both the client and the agent to actually find the right property that's going to suit you, the buyer's needs. Okay? Step 3, it says shop smarter with tech. I don't think I have to tell any of you guys that to go online and look at property and ask for virtual tours. I think everyone's pretty astute in today's market. We went through 2 years of COVID. Everyone's gotten used to Zooms. Everyone's gotten used to virtual tours. It's a wonderful way to do your legwork. True story, I just bought my son an apartment in Washington, D.C. I have not seen it yet. So I'm going to see it next week, but he's already living there. And I knew because it was priced right and it was a hyper competitive market for units that were priced right and were good units, like it was renovated and the whole business. I knew I had to get there fast. So I put in a full asking offer, knowing that they were expecting another offer before the open house happened, and I was able to secure the unit. Never saw it. But I did, by the way, just an aside, I did put in not a financing contingency. We had no financing contingency. We did end up getting a mortgage outside of that. But I put in an inspection contingency for informational purposes only. And that's the way we're doing it. That's the way we're winning the listing. Step 4, make your strongest offer. So that's ironic because I actually meant to tie in that story with this step 4. So I don't need to reiterate, but actually make your strongest offer. There's no game playing anymore. If you can afford $500,000, put in the offer for $500,000. Don't go, oh, I want to feel like I won something at $480,000. That doesn't exist. And especially in the rental market, don't even think about putting in a lower offer than asking. Okay. 5, closing the deal. So just be aware also that a knowledgeable home buyer is not a surprised home buyer. Closing the deal means that there's an additional 2% to 5% cost associated with closing the deal. That includes title insurance. If you're buying new development, it calls for developer fees. Sometimes there's settlement fees. Sometimes you have to do additional searches. For whatever reason, there could be extraneous costs, but as a rule of thumb, I tell all my clients expect a 2% cost at closing, but we can go up to 5%. Thank you for listening today. Again, we're not heading into a housing recession, at least not in South Florida. Our buyers are there. Demand is what creates the pricing. Supply and demand in real estate, it's a market. So despite rising interest rates, negative media, as boots on the ground, we are not seeing a decrease in pricing in South Florida. Have a wonderful day. I hope to hear from you. DM me if you have any questions. 954-483-4212 is an alternative. Please phone me. Thank you.